Welcome to Signature TV's Gender Perspectives, where we explore the complex tapestry of gender roles and identities in our society. Join us as we delve into thought-provoking discussions and challenge traditional norms. My name is Uchenna Chimdi Oluoha, and I hope you have a great time. We'll be back shortly. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Well, on the 6th of February, the United Nations celebrated the International Day of Zero Tolerance for Female Genital Mutilation, also known as FGM. Today, we will examine the critical issue of female genital mutilation in our society. We will explore the harmful practices and discuss the devastating consequences for women and girls, and examine the ongoing efforts to eradicate this violation of human rights. But first, let's look at the background report.
Female genital mutilation comprises all procedures that involve partial or total removal of the external female genitalia or other injury to the female genital organs for non-medical reasons. The practice has no health benefits for girls and women and can result in severe bleeding and problems urinating, and later cysts, menstrual difficulties, infections, as well as complications in childbirth and increased risk of newborn deaths. The practice of female genital mutilation is recognized internationally as a violation of the human rights of girls and women. It reflects deep-rooted inequality between the sexes and constitutes an extreme form of discrimination against girls and women. It is nearly always carried out on minors and is a violation of the rights of children. The practice also violates a person's right to health, security, and physical integrity, the right to be free from torture and cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment, and the right to life, in instances when the procedure results in death. In several settings, there is evidence suggesting greater involvement of health workers in performing female genital mutilation due to the belief that the procedure is safer when medicalized. World Health Organization strongly urges health workers not to perform female genital mutilation and has developed a global strategy and specific materials to support the health sector and health workers themselves to end female genital mutilation medicalization. Female genital mutilation is classified into 4 major types. Type 1. This is the partial or total removal of the clitoral glands, the external and visible part of the clitoris, which is a sensitive part of the female genitals, and or the prepuce/clitoral hood, the fold of skin surrounding the clitoral glands. Type 2. This is the partial or total removal of the clitoral glands and the labia minora, the inner folds of the vulva, with or without removal of the labia majora, the outer folds of skin of the vulva. Type 3, also known as infibulation, this is the narrowing of the vaginal opening through the creation of a covering seal. The seal is formed by cutting and repositioning the labia minora, or labia majora, sometimes through stitching, with or without removal of the clitoral prepuce/clitoral hood and glands. Type 4, this includes all other harmful procedures to the female genitalia for non-medical purposes, example, pricking, piercing, incising, scraping and cauterizing the genital area. Immediate complications of female genital mutilation can include severe pain, excessive bleeding, hemorrhage, genital tissue swelling, fever, infections, urinary problems, wound healing problems, injury to surrounding genital tissue, shock, death. Long-term complications can include urinary problems such as painful urination, urinary tract infections, vaginal problems such as discharge, itching, bacterial vaginosis, and other infections. Menstrual problems, which include painful menstruations, difficulty in passing menstrual blood, etc. Scar tissue and keloid, sexual problems like pain during intercourse, decreased satisfaction. Increased risk of childbirth complications, difficult delivery, excessive bleeding, cesarean section, need to resuscitate the baby, and newborn deaths. Need for later surgeries. Women with type 3 might require deinfibulation, which is the opening the infibulated scar to allow for sexual intercourse and childbirth. Psychological problems such as depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, low self-esteem. The reasons why FGM is performed vary from one region to another as well as over time and include a mix of sociocultural factors within families and communities. Where FGM is a social convention, the social pressure to conform to what others do and have been doing, as well as the need to be accepted socially and the fear of being rejected by the community, are strong motivations to perpetuate the practice. FGM is often considered a necessary part of raising a girl and a way to prepare her for adulthood and marriage. This can include controlling her sexuality to promote premarital virginity and marital fidelity. Some people believe that the practice has religious support, although no religious scripts prescribe the practice. Religious leaders take varying positions with regard to FGM, with some contributing to its abandonment. Female genital mutilation is mostly carried out on young girls between infancy and adolescence, and occasionally on adult women. Female genital mutilation is practiced in 31 countries in the western, eastern, and northeastern regions of Africa, and some countries in the Middle East and Asia. More than 230 million girls and women alive today have been subjected to the practice, with female genital mutilation is therefore of global concern. Female genital mutilation is a harmful practice that violates the human rights of girls and women. While progress has been made in recent years to address this issue, much more work remains to be done to eliminate it completely. This requires a broad approach that includes education, awareness raising, legal reforms.
We are local.
We are right now with the wife of the man that was
Why the main market is in chaos. People are...
We are national.
Those in support of this motion as amended, say aye. Aye.
we have taken the vote by default.
We are international.
Israeli airstrikes.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
Awareness and understanding of female genital mutilation vary significantly. Some individuals have little to no knowledge of the practice and its devastating consequences. While this lack of awareness can hinder efforts to eliminate female genital mutilation, as it leads to apathy or even unintentional support of the practice. On the other hand, some individuals have a good understanding of female genital mutilation, its health risks, and its violation of human rights. And this empowers them to advocate for the rights of girls and women and to work towards ending this practice. Let's hear what the people have to say about it.
I've heard about female genital mutilation, that is FGM. I have heard that some communities, in the bid to circumcise their female daughters, go a long way to mutilate the female genitals. And to some extent, it makes the female genital become insensitive. It's a very, very ugly thing to do. But many cultures in Nigeria are practicing it. In fact, for me, I can't see it around my community, but I hear some people say that that is the way it is done elsewhere around Nigeria, and I don't think it's a good practice to follow. Why I think it's not a good practice, I read a clip about that recently, and a young man who wrote that said it is very difficult to make somebody who has gone through FGM to have sexual satisfaction. That is, you can't make the person feel excited during sexual practice. So I think the best thing is for people to desist from that practice. I suggest a campaign about this so that people will come to know and to understand. Even in the Bible, when God was talking about circumcision, he never mentioned women. So some people just start doing that, and maybe I don't know how they feel about it, because it was only the males that God told Abraham to circumcise. So in the situation of circumcising a woman is not a good one. It's not a good one at all. So by the time a campaign is carried out, maybe schools, maybe secondary school campaign, maybe women market campaign, or advertisements on televisions or radios to make parents understand that that is a very bad habit. That is not something they should practice. Of course, I have a daughter. I can't do that on my daughter. I can't do it. No matter how people feel is okay. For me, I can't do it on my daughter. And I feel parents should not imbibe that kind of culture.
Well, from how it sounds, female genital mutilation deals with female circumcision in a lecture. The fact that there is no lecture based on this kind of incidents doesn't mean that the government is doing very well. He needs to tutor people based on dangers or harm female genders. Through advertisements, first of all, to having lectures like organizing classes for this kind of incidents. 3. Public sensitization. Like, in order to make people know about it, you have to go to places like people are really interested in, like stuff like open an Instagram account and go live to talk about this kind of cases and stuff. It's not only physical, you can also do it online.
Female genital circumcision can also be put as female circumcision, which is removing some organs of the female gender. It can be said to be the removal of the outer layer of the female organs or the female reproductive organ. To me, it's a bad thing. Well, for a man, they can remove the outer organ, it's alright, but for a woman, I take it to be wrong, because sometimes in life it can also affect them in their interaction with other people. Calling people to order in sense of awareness or form of just awareness simply. For instance, going to different villages which has not been oriented or being taught of this female circumcision, we can tell them about it, tell them the disadvantage, tell them everything about it, for them to be able to know that doing this can affect a woman both in reproducing and both in socializing with other people.
Female genital mutilation can be seen as the intentional act of taking partially or fully the external organs, especially sexual external organs, of a female from between 15 years and above. It has been scientifically proven that most girls who experience that undergo certain psychological effects and severe pains, and it causes infections to them. Like, it infects their urinary tract and it gives them difficulty during childbirth. It's mostly found among Africans, and I don't think it's actually something good, because it has no medical impact on those girls. So it needs to be abolished. And I don't think people are well informed about it, actually. Because if they are well informed about it, they won't carry such acts. But ignorance is not an excuse in law, so you shouldn't take it like that. They need to be aware. The government should create some agencies who partake in going around cities and informing people about disadvantages of female genital mutilation.
I see female genital mutilation as a kind of situation whereby girls, like females, are being circumcised, and it's a very bad and harmful situation for us. So I just wish to tell you guys that it needs to be stopped in our society. In some situations, some females, when they become adults, some of them some are being downsized, some get diseases, like different diseases, and those diseases can lead to them not producing children. And just know that it causes a lot to females, like it causes a lot nowadays. Like, we're now in a modern society, but there are these societies, like there are these villages that I think we need to open their ear and talk to them. They need to hear this because they damage females in that society. So, like, we need to talk, like stretch our hands to them and like talk to them so they will listen to this. Because now we're in a modern world. The government should bring out a specific organization, association of people who would go around to societies, each and every society, and talk to them about it. Yes, enlighten them more about it.
For what I've gathered, from the knowledge I have now, female genital mutilation has to do with female circumcision, because it's not written in the Bible. What is written in the Bible has to do with male circumcision. The Bible didn't say anything about female circumcision. As far as I'm concerned, reading the Bible, I have not come across any part of the Bible which states that a woman must be circumcised. The government can stop this by intervening, creating awareness on the effects of female circumcision.
Female genital mutilation is a harmful traditional practice with no health benefits, often performed on female children and teenagers. Female genital mutilation can have severe physical and psychological consequences for women and girls, including increased risk of infection, infertility, and complications during childbirth. Well, today with me in the studio to throw more light on this issue is Victoria Chukwu. She is a lecturer in the Department of Anatomy, Godfrey Okoye University. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you for having me.
So, as you know, February 6th is the United Nations International Day of Zero Tolerance for Female Genital Mutilation. And this is something that, you know, a lot of people don't know about it. Some people know, but they don't really understand what it is about. Okay. So, tell us what female genital mutilation is all about.
Okay, thank you very much. So female genital mutilation, just like you said, a lot of persons are unaware of what it is or fully what the consequences of female genital mutilation is. So it's basically any form of mutilation on the female genital area that is non-medical. It's not for medical purpose.
Yeah.
Okay, so it could involve piercing or cutting off maybe the clitoris, yes, or the labia, any part of it at all, without, not for medical purpose or reasons, right? So any form of it at all, it's female genital mutilation. So there are different types, of course, yes, of female genital mutilations. There are about 4 classifications.
Okay.
Okay, so you can have the first type where you have the clitoris being cut off. Yeah. Okay, and you can also have the other part, or the clitoris being cut off alongside with the labia majora. Okay, that's the lip, inner lip of the female genitals. Okay, then the second part is where you have both the labia majora, labia minora cut off alongside the stitching of some part of the vagina, to narrow it, yes, kind of. Yes. Okay, and then you have the third part, you have the fourth part as well. Now, what they do is just to ensure that this is done to prevent the reason, not for medical reason, just to prevent sexual promiscuity. They feel this is done to maybe keep a girl in check. Yes. It's a way of grooming her for marriage. It's a way of grooming her for adulthood, or even to keep her to be maybe, let's use the term, not a person of immoral acts, yes, in her husband's house. Yes. But that is really, really wrong, because it doesn't add up at all.
It doesn't add up, yes, honestly. And I'm actually coming to that because I'm sure this is one of the myths and misconceptions, yes, about, yes, female genital mutilation. Sure. But aside the promiscuity thing, are there other social and cultural reasons behind this act?
Yes, a lot of social and cultural reasons. Something like feeling along. Some society believe or feel that mutilation is a form of an initiation of a family. It's kind of a ritual or a rite where a family or an individual or a girl has to belong or is allowed to now maybe associate with every other person in the society. Some cultures believe it's normal. They take it as a normal thing.
Yeah.
So individuals who are not mutilated might just be cut off or isolated from the entire community.
Yes.
So it's a social issue and also a cultural thing. So it might be accepted by different cultures across the globe. For example, we have about up to 230 females, right,
Yes.
that have undergone, between the ages of infant to 15, that have undergone female genital mutilation. And that's because of the different norms across culture, where they
Yes.
believe this is normal, but it's actually not a normal thing, because a girl is a violation of human rights. A
It
girl has
is,
the
it
right
is.
to enjoy sex and pleasure and have pleasure in all of that, because that was what God made. But because of the social belief that it's a form of the female circumcision, you
Yes.
discover that they feel, okay, since the male counterparts are circumcised,
Circumcised.
this is the female version of
Yes.
it, but that's
It's
totally wrong.
It's so wrong. And talking about human rights violation, I believe for the United Nations to really bring out a day to talk to, you know, create this awareness of zero tolerance for female genital mutilation, I believe it's something that is very serious. So let's look at how this is a form of gender-based violence and abuse of human rights for
Okay.
girls and women.
Okay, so just like I mentioned earlier, some culture believe this is right, and it's a way of taming the girl child to keep her from being promiscuous and then submissive.
Yes.
Now you're doing this because you want to have her tamed, so she doesn't explore sexually. But there are other means you can do that without having to violate her rights.
Yeah.
If you're reducing, or you're doing this to reduce her pleasure sexually, to tame her in quotes, that's you violating her rights as a human, because this was created by God for reasons, right? So doing anything against her pleasure, just like it said, the right of one person stops when that of another starts. So anything that has to do with reducing, taming the girl child, and bringing her back or behind the background, behind the scene, you're meant to act in this way, and that is it. And it's not like this affects the society in other ways, right? Because you still have people who have been mutilated who are promiscuous.
Exactly. Exactly.
So it does not in any way prove that a girl who has been circumcised, let me use that word, is going to keep herself maybe in her home, or she's going to remain a virgin before she gets married. So it's really human rights violation completely. So the World Health Organization is actually fighting to see that there's zero tolerance, to human rights. I mean, to
female
genital
mutilation.
And they're looking at ensuring that this is stopped as at 2030.
Yeah.
But without awareness, it's going to be a very difficult thing.
Yes. You are an anatomist,
Yeah.
and I believe that you may have encountered someone or some women who have undergone female genital mutilation. Can you share an experience with us?
Okay, so this is on a personal level or basis, not medically, like practicing.
All right.
I'm actually a lecturer, right?
Okay.
So I have this friend of mine who, that is a rule, she's from the eastern parts of Nigeria, and it's kind of a norm or a rule in their family that every female must be circumcised. I mean, a friend. Okay, so she also went female genital mutilation, where her clitoris precisely was cut off.
Wow.
Now she's married, and at some point she called me and was like, sex has been a difficult thing for her, right? It's a very painful thing, because apart from being cut, I think there was more to it. A kind of stitching of her vaginal opening, just to narrow it. So it's not just about her cutting of the clitoris, and the aim was to keep them from you know, being promiscuous and all of that. Yes, she married as a virgin, but the pain is worse than what it was done for. So it's not been a pleasurable thing for her in her home, and you see her running away from
any
her,
sexual
yes,
activity.
Yes.
Ah, that is so sad.
It's actually a very sad
so
story
sad.
because a lot of persons might not say anything about it, but so many women who have undergone one or two of these things, any of them or any of the types, might keep away from their husbands because of the pain. The man does not necessarily understand. Then the shame.
Exactly.
Some persons are ashamed, like, okay, my body doesn't look like every other woman and all of that. So the psychological effects, I'm not like every other girl. Maybe there's something that's happened that brought about this and all of that. And then for some other persons, the after effects, you know, the pain they have to undergo, the pain, the severe pain. So post-traumatic stress disorder is also something that is an after effect of this whole practices.
This lady is going through all of this as a result of. One would think that in Nigeria, female genital mutilation is mostly in the north.
What?
In the north.
No.
Well, you're saying that this is an eastern, so southeast. Wow.
Actually, for the north has the least percentage of female genital mutilation.
Really?
Yes, the north has, and then the west, if you're to go by ethnicity, statistics, ethnicity, we have the west having the highest, and then followed by the east, and then the north is the least, about 1.9% or so. Now you discover that within the eastern region, I don't know if it's okay to go that deep, Imo has the highest percentage, but I don't know how true as well. Just like you have things like promiscuity is more there. So what's the correlation? I don't know.
Exactly.
I really do not know, but it's not the thing of the north. It's here in the
that
east.
means this is a big misconception that people need to actually be aware of, because when you hear things like female genital mutilation, they'll be like, is the northerners, and you know,
at all.
And hearing this now is a big revelation.
Not at all. It's not a northern thing. Just like I said, they have the least of it. Of course, the northerners, when you come to the female thing, they respect their female. Of course, I know the let's not go in there.
Okay, so talking of myths and misconceptions, you've mentioned the idea of women being mutilated to prevent promiscuity. And then there's also this belief that those that are not mutilated are the promiscuous ones, you know, that run around and all of that. Well, you know, you just said now that this lady that you met, or you know rather, she runs away from sex. And there are also people who are mutilated that are also promiscuous.
A lot. So
I'm trying to marry the two, but it's not, you know, it's not correlated. So what do you have to say about that?
Okay. So
and other myths and misconceptions about female genital mutilation.
So there are a lot of myths and misconceptions about female genital mutilation. So first of all, they believe this is a way of taming a girl child to make sure she's not promiscuous. But like we already mentioned, it doesn't stop anybody who wants to be promiscuous from being promiscuous. It's all about training, environments, what you add to your child as a parent and all of that, the religion and all of that. Okay, so there's no correlation between mutilation and not being promiscuous at all. At all. So some other misconception is the fact that when you're mutilated, you're going to serve your husband better. You'll be kind of submissive, right? And then remain in your home because the thing is to tame you. Now that's a very big misconception, right? And there are a lot of other myths that includes permit me, I'm a lecturer.
Yes, of course, you can.
So I can actually go through one or two things that I wrote down. Okay, so one of the myths again that we could look at is the fact that, sorry about this, permit me. Okay. One of it is the fact that it doesn't happen around me. It's, like you said, down in the north. That's a myth. It's here. It's in Enugu. Thank God for the east. When you talk about, when you're looking at the statistics, Enugu has kind of the lowest.
Okay.
When you start from Imo, you go down to Enugu and all, to Ebonyi.
Yes.
Fine. So Enugu has, it's pretty low on that, but it's around us. It's happening around us. Okay. So some other persons believe it's performed for medical reasons.
Exactly.
Like we said, it is any form of tampering with the genitals for non-medical reasons. So it's not for a medical reason. It's not done because it will add any value to a female body medically or for health purposes and all of that. Rather, it brings complications a lot, which we can look at maybe when we are done with the myths. Okay, so another myth is the fact that it's going to decline even if I don't do anything about it. That's a big myth. People are ignorant about these things. They believe it's a social thing. We do it to belong. So you need to inform the society about this. So that's a myth. It will continue unless the awareness is increased. Okay, so it is performed. Another one is that it's performed in rural areas.
Yeah.
It happened even in urban cities and all of that. So it's not just the rural region. Okay, then the worst part of it is the fact that there's a standard medical way of doing it. There's nothing like that.
You know, I was coming to that. There has also been this revelation kind of, or people are starting to find out that medical personnel are now involved in female genital mutilation because according to them, it's safer, it's a hospital, so everything is done in the hospital, and some medical personnel are now involving themselves in this act. So.
Okay. Well, the thing is, there's no medical safety in doing that. Now, the truth is, most medical personnel are involved currently for some reasons. There are pros and cons to it. Some persons, the reason is for the money involved.
Okay, yes.
Okay, so they want to earn. So, okay, if this community where I'm found is, they practice it and I can earn from it, fine. The beautiful thing is it reduces the risk of infections. Let's just say that.
Okay.
Because maybe, let's believe it will be done with sterile instruments. So that's, to a large extent, can be eliminated. Okay. But the other way around, some medical personnel are taking over with the aim of trying to curb it. Okay, so if, for instance, it's restricted to the medical personnel to handle, and the cost is high, a lot of persons will opt out. So that's why I said it's a two-way coin, right? So.
Okay.
The medical areas in the rural region and all of that, or the medical personnel might be involved for these two reasons. The entire place is not flooded with just the aim of making the money and all of that.
So it's also as a way to scare people away because of the exorbitant fees that they will have to pay compared to if it is done locally. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Now let's look at the consequences or the side effects of female genital mutilation, the risks, the immediate and the long-term risks of female genital mutilation. You've mentioned one already. You said sexual satisfaction. Women who have their genitals are mutilated don't have sexual satisfaction. Aside that, what are other risks involved?
Okay, just like you mentioned, there are immediate risk, and then you have the long-term risk. For the immediate risk, excessive bleeding is part of it. Exposure to infection, especially when it's done locally. You could see things like HIV being transmitted. The instruments that are being used for this, most families, some of the things you see is they gather their female children and then perform a ritual and then you circumcise all of them. So when you're done with this one, you shift, bring another person. So the risk of infection is high. Another thing is inflammations. You don't know the drugs that they are given and all of that to make sure that there are no inflammations, which could lead to a lot of other things. Okay, so you could have problems urinating, depending on the type of female genital mutilation that a child undergoes. Some stitch to the point of closing the source where you urinate from, right? And that's a big problem, because that means you have to retain urine. When you urinate, you retain it in your body, okay? Or you have a very tiny hole for even menstruating.
Exactly, yes.
There are a lot of complications. Childbirth is another risk. You have women that will have to also birth through the vagina, having issues, right? So it's complicated. The newborn might even die. It increases the risk because the stress and all of that. So the benefit, there's no benefit.
There is none.
There's no benefit at all. It's causes more harm than the benefits people feel they derive from it.
Okay. And for those who have undergone female genital mutilations, are there options to, well, I don't know if there's any option to reverse the removal of the clitoris, because that's gone.
It's gone.
But for those who had their vaginal openings, you know, staged, or like you said, even their urethra staged, are there options to like reverse it? Maybe in cases of childbirth, maybe if they want to go to the hospital to give birth, is there a possibility of the doctor, you know, opening it back or something like that?
Well, the world is evolving medically. If it were before, I would say the options are limited. But currently, there are a lot of options, right? So it's very possible intentionally to go back to the hospital and your gynecologist guide you through giving birth and all of that.
Yeah.
And if there is need for reopening or widening of the vagina, right, for the purpose of giving birth, or whatsoever reason you feel you want to go back to the normal state and all of that, it can be done.
Okay.
But the thing is, the original is not the same as the fixed one, right? So yes, it's not the same as when you have to do that to fix.
Okay.
Like prevention is better than cure, right?
Exactly.
So having to undergo medical therapy or surgery to bring it back to normal would definitely not be the same as if nothing was done at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
And how, within the healthcare setting, is there a way to identify people who have been who have undergone FGM?
Well, physically looking, you might not be able to tell. Everybody is clothed and all of that, moving, just like HIV, you know, they show for face.
Exactly, yes.
So it's difficult. So people are going through a lot, except for those who are exposed, maybe gynecologists and all of that, they're exposed to medical attention that deals with gyno.
Yes.
Fine, you could identify, of course, looking at the vulva area and all of that, you'll be able to tell whether or not there's been a tampering of any of the parts, right? And then maybe the person have to discuss with you, meeting a psychologist and all of that, and you're put through psychologically how to, because the psychological effect is also another area.
Yes.
So maybe you exposing whatever happened to your psychologist or the gynecologist dictating that when there is need for medical examination. Aside that, it's just difficult to look at somebody and you're able to tell, no, this person went through this. No, it's very,
no, it's not.
Yeah.
And it's quite alarming that a lot of people really don't even know that there is even something called female genital mutilation. It's really funny because recently I, went about asking people, oh, what do you know about female? And some people are like, I've never heard of it. I don't know what it is. Some say, oh, I've heard of it, but I don't really know what it entails. And these are young people who live in urban societies, people who are in school or people who are educated, and they have never heard. How much more, less educated people? It's a problem. So what can you say about that?
Okay, the thing is, just like AIDS no dey show for face, people are not aware of so many things happening around them, right? So currently, because of the fight against female genital mutilation, most persons who indulge in it do it probably privately. It's not something elaborated so much, except for a place in Africa like Somalia and Guinea where it is still
quite high.
Yes, fine. But in Nigeria, most persons will tell you they know nothing about it because it's not celebrated. It's not something that it's so heard of. There are no much awareness on that, and the persons who are maybe mutilated would not come out to say, oh, I went through this and all of that, like some other persons that take it up just to ensure that younger girls are helped or prevented from being exposed to that. So it's possible people to talk or say things like, I've never heard that before, because the awareness is really...
So what can we do to create this awareness so that people will know? Because this lack of awareness is indirectly still promoting this act of female genital mutilation. And the more people get to know this, at least, and know the dangers of this act, the more, this thing will reduce.
Okay.
So what ways can we create this publicity and awareness on female genital mutilation?
Okay, first of all, to create awareness, you start from, don't just, for a society where it's prevalent, don't just pick a family and then teach them about it. Make it a societal thing, in a way that the persons who refuse to indulge in it are not ostracized, right? So you start with the awareness in the community where it is practiced, okay? Then you also get a lot of more medical personnel or TV programs that will teach, even in the urban area, things about it and help to inform others, make people know, okay, there's something like this. Should you know anyone that have gone through or is about to go through this, do this, inform these other persons and all of that. The government should come in. The religious sector should come in, because one of the myths is the fact that some persons believe it's religious, but there is no place in the scripture or in the Quran where it's recorded.
Yes.
For the male circumcision, yes, we have a record of that, but for the female genital mutilation, let's not call it circumcision.
No,
it's not mentioned.
Yeah.
So there's no backup religiously supporting this, right?
Yeah.
So if there are religious leaders that maybe support this, is because of the custom from where they are coming from, not because it's a religious thing. Okay, so the awareness from religious leaders, governments, the TV, every hand should be on deck to promote and teach about this. And if possible, create a safe zone for the persons who have undergone this, so that they can also speak out.
Exactly.
They need to talk, so that we know.
Because I also want to ask, how can we support women who have undergone female genital mutilation and at least help them to heal in some way from this traumatic experience, because it's a very sensitive issue. So some of them might want to shy away from it, and some of them might not take it well. So like, just how can we help them? Those when we find out, when we know that these people have undergone this, what ways can we help them?
Just like we have a great awareness for HIV. At some point, it was nobody heard of it. Most persons died of it without.
Exactly.
Yes. And then we made it a global thing in Nigeria. From when I was in primary school, corpers came to school, taught about it, and then give out handouts where we have foundations that took care of people that had HIV, right? We could also have foundations that could make it a safe zone for people who have undergone female genital mutilation to go there, and they have all-round care, psychological, they are taken care of, emotionally they are taken care of, physically, health-wise, right? And they are given the voice when they are healed to speak up and also help other girls or ladies to heal. Okay, so that's one of the things that can be done, the awareness, and then it's safe zone for them. So when they speak, that social and social stigmatization would not be a problem to them.
This conversation is quite enlightening, and I hope our viewers, are learning from this. We all need to join hands together with the UN to promote this zero tolerance for female genital mutilation. Thank you so much, Victoria Chukwu, for joining us. I enjoyed this conversation with you. Thank you so much. Okay, we'll go on a short break, and when we come back, Gender Perspective continues. Well, it's eye-opening hearing people's opinions about female genital mutilation and its implications. Although the practice has been around for several years, ending female genital mutilation within this generation is still possible if we accelerate our progress and create more awareness and sensitization programs. Let's come together to end this terrible act and promote a healthy life for our women and girls. Well, thank you for staying with me on the program. Remember, we are live 24/7 on YouTube, and make sure to follow us on all our social media platforms, X, Facebook, and Instagram, and every other social media platform. Well, I am Uchenna Chimdi Olwoha. See you same time next week.